Hey, Nutrition Mission. For those of you that have been following my channel, you're going to be really surprised to know who gave me a call the other day. I should say, a couple days ago, I got a Facebook message in Messenger from no other than Rodney Habib. And those of you that know Rodney and Dr. Becker wrote The Forever Dog. They're big celebrities on social media and all that. And of course, they're in a very different camp nutritionally than I am. And so I got a call or a message that he wanted to Skype or Zoom. And I said, wow, okay, why don't we just do a phone call? I'm not really in all that technology. But he said, no, I'd really like this to be face to face. So I was like, I don't know about this. So anyway, we did. We Skyped the other day, and I want to share with you how that went. So let's take a look. I think you'll be surprised. I started out saying, I'm kind of surprised. Of course, I know who you are. And I told him, I said, I've had a few pet food companies contact me, but this is a surprise. And it started out great because what he told me is that his mother had seen one of my videos. He said his mom watches all his videos, and she had seen my video on bias, how we all have a bias. And she called Rodney and said, hey, you need to meet this man or introduce yourself to this man. He's a good man, and I can tell he has a good soul. So I tell you what, Rodney, I'm sure you'll see this. I'll send it to you. But what better compliment can you get from somebody? And Rodney's mom is a Lebanese Catholic woman, and so that was pretty cool. So he, just like a good Catholic boy, he did. You listen to your mom, and I'm Italian and Scottish and Irish, and same way you listen to your mom. So sure enough, he contacted me, and so that's how the call started. And I went through my story. I kind of repeated my paratrooper to pet food video. Just kind of went through how I ended up where I am, and then he went through and told his story. And I had known something had happened, and his journey really did start in '07 with the horrible melamine poisoning, and he actually lost a dog to that. And so that really is what sent him on his path. And so we both understood where we came from. And the one thing that was really cool is right away we were like kindred spirits. Our love for dogs, especially, and our passion for what we're doing and all. It was just it was really neat. So right away we kind of just got into talking about nutrition and science and all this other stuff and social media, and it really went well. And I have to say, and I was honest, and you guys know me, I'm pretty honest. I told him, I said, I'm surprised listening to you now. I mean, again, we spoke, it was almost 3 hours, and it felt like 20 minutes, really. Um, but I told him I'm surprised because I pictured you being down on veterinarians, down on prescription diets, down on nutrition science, whatever you want to call it. In other words, he was in this other camp, far away from my camp, which was over here. And I explained how my channel had really turned into, most of you would agree, it turned into really defending commercial pet food, especially Hills, Royal Canin, and Purina. I shared some of the quotes that I had seen, from Dr. Becker, and especially from Dr. Judy. When asked by BK Pets, what about these diets from Hills and Royal Canin? And you guys all know what she said. It's all crap, and I would never feed it in a million years. So I shared with him my frustration that there's so many people out there that are guilt-ridden and ashamed, and I see it all the time, whether it's in my comments or comments on Facebook groups out there, that people feel terrible that they're feeding these diets. And it's coming from that extreme camp. And I lumped him into that camp. Now, his philosophy, his way of looking at things is very different than mine. We're not going to agree on everything, that's for sure. But it was interesting once I got to know him a little bit. He knows many of the board certified nutritionists from different food companies, from independent ones. I mean, he knows some that were at Hills, Blue Buffalo. He even knows one that's currently at Farmer's Dog. These are board certified nutritionists. I mean, he really just gets in and tries to know everybody and learn everything. And I came away realizing that maybe social media is guilty of making us, putting us all in categories and all separate camps or separate tribes. And he and I actually had a lot more in common than we had difference. We definitely have differences, that's for sure. But it was really interesting that I thought, you know what, if BK Pets had asked Rodney, what do you think of therapeutic nutrition or Hills or Rocaine or whatever, the fact that he knows these people personally and he knows their hearts and all the research they've done, I think it would be a very different answer. And so I shared with him that my main concern is that, you know, you can have all this wonderful research in new areas of health and longevity, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater to demean and say that, you know, these other companies that aren't doing this research, well, they're just crap and they're just, you know, whatever. That's just destructive to the pet parents that are saying, hey, I can't do research. I'm just trying to do what my vet says, and this is what I'm hearing on social media. And so that's what I shared with him because that really is my biggest concern. So, you know, maybe like many of you, I only knew Rodney from the YouTube videos that I saw with him and Dr. Becker. And of course, they were mixed in with Dr. Judy and Rachel and Sam, the retailer, and everything else. So I had no idea. But when I actually looked, I mean, Rodney is a big deal. I mean, he's a you know, best-selling author. He's a speaker that goes all around the world. His I think it's Planet Pause or Pause Planet that he started a number of years ago. It is like one of the most watched or viewed dog health Facebook groups in the world, and I think he's up to like 1 billion views. I mean, can you imagine 1 billion? So the influence this guy has is pretty amazing. And so again, that guy called little old pet food puzzle guy. How about that? Huh? I mean, I'm kidding, but it was just really it was interesting to talk to him, and what we both agreed on is, and I remember Sam the retailer said this too, the guy from England, that when you're a YouTube influencer, you're putting things on YouTube, you have to grab people's attention, and maybe you kind of go a little overboard with your thumbnail, or you're a little more flamboyant and all. And we're all guilty of that. I hope I'm not. I think I was in the beginning, like how rude I was with Cam, the dog nutritionist. And see, I still make fun of him. It's terrible. But I've learned in just a year and a half that that really isn't the way to do this. You know, everybody loves their animals just like he and I love ours, and we're all doing our best, but we all definitely have our different paths and different biases. But social media tends to exaggerate that. And I think if he and I hadn't talked, we would continue to see each other in extreme camps. And though clearly we disagree on a lot of stuff, what I came away with, and I'm just sharing this because I want you to all to understand, because I do argue with these people, right? I'm not in person, but online, over their views and some of the stuff they say. But I really see myself, and I've said this before, I love the saying, stay in your lane. Remember, a subscriber said that to me once. I know my lane. My lane is it's a super highway, but it's straight ahead, and it's basically basic nutrition science that has been taught to me through board certified nutritionists in over 3 decades, and the opposing marketing trends, the dishonest marketing and all that, that's the other lane. Those are my 2 lanes. If I get out of those 2 lanes, any of you especially my nutrition mission folks, you need to, you know, speak to me, let me know that, hey, you're out of your lane, because I hate talking about something I don't know anything about. I think nobody should do that. So I'm going to stay in my lane. I really see Rodney, and I went to some of his other videos and stuff, and he's just sucking up every new piece of research he can find. Now, if you're a conservative like me, I'm kind of like the old crotchety veterinarians that I used to have to deal with years ago. They didn't want to hear about anything new and everything. That's bad. That's extreme. I don't want to be like that. But I'm standing on the foundation of the stuff we know as we know it today. And that's why I don't like when people demonize that, because you're harming animals when you do that. Rodney really is not on a superhighway. He's more like on a monorail or a launch pad to space. I mean, he's into microbiology. He's into all any new thing, whether it's natural mushrooms, whether it's whatever, anything out of the ordinary, anything that you could add to basic nutrition. That's where he's at, and I think that's great because I'm not really interested in that or passionate about that. He is, and it's all about longevity and all that. And I think it's awesome. My concern that I shared with him, not so much that he does it all the time, and I think he did when he was younger. He's come a long way in the 20 years he's been doing this. But we need to stop the demonizing the other camp, and what can we share, what can we learn that we've learned together. And probably nobody is in a better position to do that because of him knowing so many people from all the way from big corporate entities to small companies to all the different scientists he knows that are in every realm, from the you know basic nutrition research to research in all kinds of stuff. And again, I think one of the differences between us, I tend to be a pessimistic person and a skeptical person. So if somebody says, well, this study proves this, I'm more, yeah, until there's 10 more studies that prove that, I'm not going to believe it. Even Dr. Judy said you could go find a study that proves anything. So I think that might be a difference between me and Rodney, where he's taking it all in and processing it and being more positive that this probably is true. This is probably good. Where again, I'm just naturally going to be skeptical and say, well, okay, let's let the other specialists tear this study apart and see whether it's valid or not, because I sure can't. And when there's a couple more studies long term that show the same results, now I'm on board. And I remember old veterinarians were that way with me coming in with a new diet from Hills. So, but again, within that, I think from the superhighway of basic nutrition to the monorail of all these new things, there's cohesion. That there's Hills. Look at the stuff Hills is doing even today with the microbiome. That's wild stuff. Nutrigenomics. I called it almost space age nutrition. Okay, that's stuff that. And Dr. Becker talked about it once in one of her videos. She didn't give any credit to Hills. She talked about other research that was done. But I'm just saying there's a lot, that big kibble, if you want to call it that, and Rodney and his camp, if no better word, I don't want to say tribe, that we have in common. We're all going in the same direction. We're all trying to improve the lives of animals. So demonizing one side is not cool. And he sent me a whiteboard. He showed me. I said, "Hey, could I have that and share that? Because that's really, really great." And it just shows how where we're at right now. And this is why my title: Am I a pet food extremist, or are you a pet food extremist? I haven't decided on the title yet. We got to be careful that we don't become an extremist. Somebody said you get radicalized by one group or another. And so let's take a look at this board, and you'll see Rodney deals with this every day, and I do to some degree on my channel, but I think we can learn from it. So let me show it to you. So you have ultra processed on one side that most people fit into, right? And most people, I'll just go, the other side is minimally processed. So let's just look at one side at a time. Ultra processed, of course, he sees that as a negative. I've shared many times how, and I shared it with him, Averly, my granddaughter, special needs, it's on a pouch of food that she has to have through a G-tube. She's 9 years old now. That food is ultra processed, but the purpose of it is to enhance her life and to feed her everything she needs. We can do that with dog food as well. But yes, you can also make crap as well, tasty cakes, McDonald's, all that kind of stuff. So ultra processed shouldn't all of a sudden mean negative. It just, what is the process and what's the purpose? Okay, I've said that many times. So anyway, when we look at ultra processed, there's kibble, of course, that's what most people feed. Then there's canned, which the purists or the ingredientists don't talk about canned very much. It's kind of weird. And then there's semi-moist. And semi-moist, I've never found anything near healthy with semi-moist. The moisture and the stuff you have to put in, it just doesn't work. So when you look at kibble, then you have, there's grocery kibble, and there's high end, and that's a wide range. And then there's veterinary kibble. I'm not sure why he didn't. The canned should also go to those three as well, not just kibble. Kind of a little bit of a faux pas there, but you get the point. And the thing is that when you're a high end person, and this is getting to this, let's call it tribal, tribal rivalry, or the extremists. If you're a kibble extremist, you think canned is just a total waste of time. Come on, it's 75% water. Why would you be such a fool to do that? Just feed kibble. If you are a kibble or a canned person, that looks like food. Kibble's nothing more but what does Farmer's Dog call it? Brown burnt balls. It's dehydrating your pet. I mean, blah blah blah. So even right there, the kibble versus the canned people, all of a sudden you get the extremist tribal activities going on there. But when you get to grocery, high end, and veterinary, oh my goodness, now you have the grocery people saying you're crazy for spending that kind of money on the high end or the veterinary. Or the high end people, of course, are great at guilting and shaming the grocery. You feed that, you buy your food at the grocery store. Oh my goodness, da, da, da. Even it's gotten so bad now, you buy your stuff at Petco or PetSmart, you're looked down on by the high end extremists, right? And then the veterinary line, they're a select group that they love their pets so much that they're spending crazy amounts of money. They're seeing some amazing results, so they look down on everybody else, right? That makes sense. If you look at the high end, he breaks that down to, which is so true. You have the grain-free people that insist on that, even now, even after all the DCM scare. And then you have, it has to have grains, otherwise your dog's going to get, DCM. And then, that breaks down to the meat folks. And we know that, boy, talk about there's a tribal group there. I mean, they are extremists for sure. They're probably the biggest group in this section. Your dog's a wolf, you need to feed meat. Meat should be 95%. All this, the prey model, on and on and on. But then what do you have within that? On the other end, we have the plant-based folks. I would say plant-based. I would even include foods like Science Diet or Purina that actually use both meat and plant protein combinations. They feel that is superior to just meat alone. But of course, if you're in the meat tribe, that's terrible that you're using plants. You never saw a wolf eat a ear of corn or blah blah blah. So there you go. You have your plant-based, and now what do we have? Now we have an offshoot of vegetarian, and there's even people that will judge the vegetarian because it's not vegan. Okay, so you so you see, and the problem is, it doesn't really happen with me. You'll see on the other side, it happens with him a lot. But I include all that. Just what's my big mantra? I don't care what all this stuff is. Show me the nutrients delivered in that food, whether it's canned, kibble, grocery, high end, veterinary line, whatever. So because I'm not such an ingredientist, I can kind of coexist with some of those folks. But again, when I back off, everybody else is just fighting over these extremists. And I guess my thought out to all of you is we don't need to be extremists in there, especially if we're saying the nutrients are what really matter. Um, we can just look at that and see which ways goes. As far as the vegetarian versus the meat based, they'll always argue there's nothing we can do about that, but we can make sure that those vegetarian and vegan diets actually have all the nutrition they need in them, which can be done. It can be done. So that the animals are healthy. That's the bottom line. So let's go over to where Rodney deals with the most, and that's minimally processed. And there's light cooked, raw, and freeze dried. And he has told me that, because this is his realm where he spends most of his time, anything he writes, any article, any presentation, the minute he says something about lightly cooking, the raw people go crazy, right? And freeze dried, same way. Well, it shouldn't be raw; it should be freeze dried for these reasons. So right away, even though they're all kind of under the same umbrella, you've got these splits right away, and then it splits even more. You have again with meat or a combination of meat and vegetables, lightly cooked. He believes in vegetables, so of course the meat only people really go after him for that. There's your vegetarian and vegan, same way. Some of those people are very extremists that nobody should be eating meat for all kinds of moral reasons and nutritional reasons, whatever. Under the raw, you have the commercial pathogen controlled. And I would say, and he agreed, we did talk about balance, the balance of nutrients. He totally was 100% with me on that. So that should be really encouraging to those of you that think that camp is hopeless and that they're just, got their heads buried in the sand. I just discovered with him that really isn't true. We just have to do more dialogue and kind of get off the social media frenzy and communicate. And from raw, the other option is homemade. And the problem with homemade, and he agreed, most people don't do it right. And I've been, how many times have I said that? One of the reasons vets don't like homemade, whether it's raw or cooked, is because it's out of their control. They have no idea what that client is doing. And Rodney admitted there's many people that just do it wrong. So we both agreed on that one, that hey, if you want to feed raw or even cook, do home cooking, you are taking on a huge responsibility and you need to do it right. It can't just be a whim. So we totally agreed on that. And then from homemade, you go down to it has to be whole foods. And what it just shows is we're labeling people and sticking them in camps. Now, he did this not to label people or divide people. This is the way people are. I mean, everybody is like, it's not that Rodney or me is saying, well, I'm going to put, Sarah in this camp and Ashley's going to go over here. On Ed's down here. I'm going to put him over there. And of course, Dr. Ray is over there. It's really not that. It's just that we all do fit in somewhere there. If I said everybody put a Post-it note where you go, you'd be able to do that pretty easy. The question is, okay, you're in on that pink Post-it note, but what about the people around you that are on other different Post-it notes? Are they 100% wrong and you're 100% right and we're going to argue all day long? No, that really doesn't make sense, and it's not true. So I just thought that was really funny, and he said, and it's true, the minute you have an opinion, the minute you start presenting something, you're gonna get flack, especially on social media. So that's why I love our channel. And when I say all of you regulars that are always contributing, most of it, every now and then somebody's got something to say, and that's fine, keeps it a little lively. But usually it's just really great dialogue and a lot of questions, and we're all learning from each other. And I think it's really great. And so clearly what that means is other channels on social media should be more like our channel, right? But I'm going to do my best to communicate as best I can the reasons why commercial food is great and is an option. I will be much more open to other options as long as they deliver the key nutrients at optimal levels. I'm open for whatever options people are into. But let's all try to not be that pet food extremist that poor Rodney has to deal with, and I have to deal with once in a while. And again, let's take the splinter out of our own eye. Maybe we're a little guilty at times of being that extremist, and let's just try to learn from each other. So I hope that's encouraging to you. I'm sure for some of you, you're really surprised that he and I had such a great conversation, but the point is we did. So let's continue that dialogue and let's keep learning from each other. And again, I really appreciate all you guys that have made this channel just a real blessing for me. I'm just really loving it. And I love the comments. And I'm going to do a lot more videos on the comments because people said they like that. And I like that too. So we will see you next time.